The Great Lament by Ginzberg. On his return from Anathoth, Jeremiah saw, at a distance, smoke curling upward from the Temple Mount, and his spirit was joyful. He thought the Jews had repented of their sins and were bringing incense offerings. Once within the city walls, he knew the truth that the temple had fallen a prey to the incendiary. Overwhelmed by grief, he cried out, "O Lord, thou didst entice me, and I permitted myself to be enticed. Thou didst send me forth out of thy house that thou mightest destroy it." 31. God himself was deeply moved by the destruction of the temple, which he had abandoned that the enemy might enter and destroy it. Accompanied by the angels, he visited the ruins and gave vent to his sorrow. "Woe is me on account of my house! Where are my children, where my priests, where my beloved? But what could I do for you? Did I not warn you? Yet you would not mend your ways." Today, God said to Jeremiah, "I am like a man who has an only son. He prepares the marriage canopy for him, and his only beloved dies under it. Thou doest seem to feel but little sympathy with me and with my children. Go, summon Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Moses from their graces. They know how to mourn." "Lord of the world," replied Jeremiah, "I know not where Moses is buried." "Stand on the banks of the Jordan," said God, "and cry, 'Thou son of Amram, arise, see how wolves have devoured thy sheep.'" Jeremiah repaired to the double cave, and spake to the patriarchs, "Arise, ye are summoned to appear before God." When they asked him the reason of the summons, he feigned ignorance, for he feared to tell them the true reason. They might have cast reproaches upon him that so great a disaster had overtaken Israel in his time. Then Jeremiah journeyed on to the banks of the Jordan, and there he called as he had been bidden, "Thou son of Amram, arise, thou art cited to appear before God." "What has happened this day, that God calls me unto him?" asked Moses. "I know not," replied Jeremiah again. Moses thereupon went to the angels, and from them he learned that the temple had been destroyed, and Israel banished from his land. Weeping and mourning, Moses joined the patriarchs, and together, rending their garments and wringing their hands, they betook themselves to the ruins of the temple. Here their wailing was augmented by the loud lamentations of the angels. 32. How desolate are the highways to Jerusalem, the highways destined for travel without end. How deserted are the streets that once were thronged at the seasons of the pilgrimages. O Lord of the world, with Abraham the father of thy people, who taught the world to know thee as the ruler of the universe, thou didst make a covenant, that through him and his descendants the earth should be filled with people, and now thou hast dissolved thy covenant with him. O Lord of the world, thou hast scorned Zion and Jerusalem, once thy chosen habitation. Thou hast dealt more harshly with Israel than with the generation of Enosh, the first idolaters. God thereupon said to the angels, "Why do ye array yourselves against me with your complaints?" "Lord, do the world," they replied, "on account of Abraham thy beloved, who has come into thy house wailing and weeping, yet thou payest no heed unto him." Thereupon God, "Since my beloved ended his earthly career, he has not been in my house. What hath my beloved to do in my house?" 33. Now Abraham entered into the conversation. "Why, O Lord of the world, hast thou exiled my children, delivered them into the hands of the nations, who torture them with all tortures, and who have rendered desolate the sanctuary, where I was ready to bring thee my son Isaac as a sacrifice? Thy children have sinned," said God. "They have transgressed the whole Torah, they have offended against every letter of it. Abraham, who is there that will testify against Israel that he has transgressed the Torah? God, let the Torah herself appear and testify." The Torah came, and Abraham addressed her. "O my daughter, dost thou indeed come to testify against Israel, to say that he violated thy commandments? Dost thou feel no shame? Remember the day on which God offered thee to all the peoples, all the nations of the earth, and they all rejected thee with disdain. 34. Then my children came to Sinai, they accepted thee, and they honored thee. And now, on the day of their distress, thou standest up against them." Hearing this, the Torah stepped aside and did not testify. Let the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet in which Torah is written come and testify against Israel, said God. They appeared without delay, and Aleph, the first letter, was about to testify against Israel, when Abraham interrupted it with the words, "Thou chief of all letters, thou comest to testify against Israel in the time of his distress. Be mindful of the day on which God revealed himself on Mount Sinai, beginning his words with thee. Anoki the Lord thy God. No people, no nation accepted thee, only my children, and now thou comest to testify against them." Aleph stepped aside and was silent. The same happened with the second letter Bet. 35, and with the third Gimel, and with all the rest all of them retired abashed, and opened not their mouth. Now Abraham turned to God and said, "O Lord of the world, When I was 100 years old, thou didst give me a son, and when he was in the flower of his age, 37 years old, thou didst command me to sacrifice him to thee, and I, like a monster, without compassion, I bound him upon the altar with mine own hands. Let that plead with thee, and have thou pity on my children. Then Isaac raised his voice and spake, O Lord of the world, when my father told me, God will provide himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son, I did not resist thy word. Willingly I let myself be tied to the altar, my throat was raised to meet the knife. Let that plead with thee, and have thou pity on my children. Then Jacob raised his voice and spake, O Lord of the world, for 20 years I dwelt in the house of Laban, and when I left it, I met with Esau, who sought to murder my children, and I risked my life for theirs. And now they are delivered into the hands of their enemies, like sheep led to the shambles, after I coddled them like fledglings breaking forth from their shells, after I suffered anguish for their sake all the days of my life. Let that plead with thee, and have thou pity on my children. And at last Moses raised his voice and spake, O Lord of the world, was I not a faithful shepherd unto Israel for 40 long years? Like a steed I ran ahead of him in the desert, and when the time came for him to enter the promised land, thou didst command, Here in the desert shall thy bones drop. And now that the children of Israel are exiled, thou hast sent for me to mourn and lament over them. That is what the people mean when they say, The good fortune of the master is none for the slave, but the master's woe is his woe. And turning to Jeremiah he continued, Walk before me, I will lead them back. Let us see who will venture to raise a hand against them. Jeremiah replied, The roads cannot be passed, they are blocked with corpses. But Moses was not to be deterred, and the two, Moses following Jeremiah, reached the rivers of Babylon. When the Jews saw Moses, they said, The son of Amram has ascended from his grave to redeem us from our enemies. 36 At that moment a heavenly voice was heard to cry out, It is decreed. And Moses said, O my children, I cannot redeem you, the decree is unalterable, may God redeem you speedily, and he departed from them. The children of Israel raised their voices in sore lamentations, and the sound of their grief pierced to the very heavens. Meantime Moses returned to the fathers, and reported to them to what dire suffering the exiled Jews were exposed, and they all broke out into woebegone plaints. 37 In his bitter grief Moses exclaimed, Be cursed, O sun, why was not thy light extinguished in the hour in which the enemy invaded the sanctuary? The sun replied, O faithful shepherd, I swear by the life, I could not grow dark. The heavenly powers would not permit it. 60 Fiery scourges they dealt me, and they said, Go and let thy light shine forth. 38 Another last complaint Moses uttered, O Lord of the world, thou hast written it in thy Torah, and whether it be cow or ewe, ye shall not kill it and her young both in one day. How many mothers have they slaughtered with their children, and thou art silent? Then with the suddenness of a flash, Rachel, our mother, stood before the Holy One, blessed be he. Lord of the world, she said, Thou knowest how overwhelming was Jacob's love for me, and when I observed that my father thought to put Leah in my place, I gave Jacob secret signs, that the plan of my father might be set at naught. But then I repented me of what I had done, and to spare my sister mortification, I disclosed the signs to her. More than this, I myself was in the bridal chamber, and when Jacob spake with Leah, I made reply, lest her voice betray her. I, a woman, a creature of flesh and blood, of dust and ashes, was not jealous of my rival. Thou, O God, everlasting King, thou eternal and merciful Father, why wast thou jealous of the idols, empty vanities? Why hast thou driven out my children, slain them with swords, left them at the mercy of their enemies? Then the compassion of the supreme God was awakened, and he said, For thy sake, O Rachel, I will lead the children of Israel back to their land. 39